The Vorthan armada had swept through 17 star systems in as many cycles, leaving nothing but cooling debris and silent worlds in their wake. Their massive dreadnoughts moved like predators through the void, each vessel the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. No species had stood against them for more than a few hours. The galaxy had learned to fear the crimson hulls of the Vorthan fleet. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the human destroyer Defiance, watching the tactical display paint a grim picture. 300 Vorthan vessels approached the Sol system, their formation perfect, their intent clear. Earth's defense fleet numbered barely 50 ships, most of them outdated cruisers and frigates that had seen better decades. "Sir, incoming transmission from Vorthan Command," reported Lieutenant Torres. From the communication station. On screen, the holographic display shimmered, revealing the imposing figure of Warlord Vex, his chitinous face scarred from countless battles. His four arms gestured dismissively as he spoke in the guttural Vorthan tongue, translated by the ship's computer. "Humans of the third planet, your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Continue this foolishness, and we will ensure your species suffers before extinction." Kane stepped forward, his weathered face set in determination. "This is Admiral Kane of the Earth Defense Force. You want our world? Come and take it." Vex's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Your bravado is admirable, but pointless. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. What can one small fleet hope to accomplish? You're about to find out." The transmission ended, and Kane turned to his crew. They were young, most of them barely out of the academy, but their eyes held the same steel he had seen in Earth's defenders for generations. Humans had always fought hardest when their backs were against the wall. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane. Today, we stand between our home and an enemy that believes we are weak. They have studied our technology, analyzed our tactics, counted our ships, but they have made one critical error." He paused, looking out at the approaching armada. "They do not understand what it means to be human." The Vorthan fleet opened fire first, their massive plasma cannons lighting up space with deadly energy. The human ships scattered like leaves before a storm, their smaller size allowing them to dance between the incoming volleys. The Defiance rolled hard to port, her hull groaning under the stress as a plasma bolt seared past close enough to overload her port shields. "Evasive pattern Delta 7, Kane ordered. "All ships, implement Protocol Omega." Lieutenant Torres looked up from her station, confusion evident on her face. "Sir, Protocol Omega isn't in any of our tactical databases." Kane smiled grimly. "That's because I just made it up." The human fleet began moving in seemingly random patterns, their formations breaking apart and reforming in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Vorthan targeting computers, programmed to predict standard military maneuvers, struggled to lock onto the erratically moving human vessels. "Sir, the Vorthans are trying to box us in," called out Commander Blake Fanning. "Tactical station. Let them think they're succeeding. Helm, take us into the asteroid field." The Defiance dove toward the scattered remains of a mining operation in the outer system, her escorts following close behind. The Vorthan ships pursued, their massive bulk making them slow to maneuver among the floating rocks. "Now," Kane whispered. "The human ships suddenly reversed course, their engines screaming as they accelerated back toward the pursuing Vorthans. It was a head-on collision course that violated every rule of space combat, but Kane was counting on the enemy's confusion. The Vorthans hesitated for a crucial second, their commanders uncertain how to respond to such apparent madness. In that moment of hesitation, the human ships opened fire with everything they had. Missile swarms erupted from their launch tubes, their warheads programmed with targeting data Kane had been collecting since the battle began. The Vorthan shields flared and buckled under the concentrated assault. 3 of their smaller vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs, their debris creating new hazards in the asteroid field. Impossible, Warlord Dex snarled from his command ship. How are they adapting so quickly? His tactical officer studied the displays with growing alarm. Sir, their attack patterns are completely unpredictable. Our computers cannot establish a firing solution. Then we fight as our ancestors did, with instinct and fury. All ships close to ramming distance. The Vorthan fleet surged forward, abandoning their careful formations in favor of raw aggression. It was exactly what Kane had hoped for. Phase 2, he announced calmly. All ships scatter pattern Zulu. The human fleet split apart like droplets of mercury, each ship taking a different vector through the asteroid field. The Vorthans found themselves chasing shadows, their massive ships too large to navigate the tight spaces the humans slipped through with ease. Kane watched as the enemy formation fell apart, their ships isolated and vulnerable. The humans struck, like wolves, appearing from behind asteroids to deliver devastating hit-and-run attacks before vanishing again into the rocky maze. Hours passed. The Vorthan fleet, which had begun the battle with overwhelming superiority, found itself reduced to less than 100 ships. Their crews, accustomed to easy victories, grew increasingly demoralized as the humans continued their relentless harassment. Sir, Torres called out, Vorthan Command is hailing us. Warlord Dex appeared on screen again, his composure cracked, his forearms trembling with rage and something that might have been fear. What are you? He demanded. What species fights like this? Kane stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of human warfare. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues, that crossed oceans in wooden ships and climbed mountains because they were there. We are the children of warriors who held mountain passes against impossible odds, who charged across battlefields, knowing they would die, who looked up at the stars and decided to make them our home. The Admiral's eyes blazed with ancient fire. We are human, and this is our world. The final Vorthan ships turned and fled into the darkness between stars, carrying word of humanity's defiance to the far corners of the galaxy. The species that had conquered 17 civilizations had met their match in a small blue world at the edge of nowhere. Admiral Kane stood on his bridge, watching the enemy retreat, and smiled. The galaxy had learned something new today about the humans of Earth. They had learned that some fights were worth dying for, and that courage could triumph over overwhelming odds. In the years that followed, no alien fleet would dare approach. The Sol System. The story of the Defiance and her crew became legend, whispered in spaceports across the galaxy. They called it the day the humans proved that size and technology meant nothing compared to the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to kneel. The Vorthans never returned.